Hello, good afternoon. This is Paul Lennon again, and wishing you safety and health here from beautiful Guatemala as we speak. And continuing with my life in the Legion of Christ, or you might say my clashes. At this time, I've just had some clashes with Father Maciel, and now I'm struggling with holy obedience and being reactionary and being reactive, excuse me, and being reluctant to obey because I'm attached to the School of Faith in Mexico City, now being sent down in my holy obedience into the Yucatan missions, we might say, for the second time in my life and getting a little bit PO'd with the this whole thing, even though I'm soldiering. I'm soldiering. Uh, Picking up where I was last time, I talked about my mom coming down to the missions, and I know you like to see my photographs. So there you go. Hey, look at that young guy again. How he's young, isn't he? He's what is he? 27, 28, oh, whatever, 29. No, I don't know what is. 83. He's 30. Very young. So this is the little guy. This little guy that's standing up to Father Maciel has been standing up to Father Maciel, and as you know, my dear friends, that is a losing battle. Now, recapping again from the last time, I talked about the Easter candle trick, and I didn't explain exactly in what it consisted of. I forgot the little explanation. Well, the message from Father Acevedo to me at that time was when I was dawdling in Mexico City was. Please come to the chapel of the Anáhuac University, the chapel there, to pick up the Easter candle, because apparently it had been left there at the University of Anáhuac, and bring it back, pick it up, and please bring it back to the Cumbres Father's house there on the Rosedal Street in Mexico City, Mexico, number 10, Zone 10, as we all know. All ex-legionaries know exactly where that is. uh, México DF used to be called DF, Distrito Federal, Zona Postal número 10. And that's where the fathers had, and that's where we would have our retreats, as I explained before. But so the order from my superior there, from the provincial, was to go to the university, pick up the Easter candle, and bring it back to the father's house, to the padre's house there in where Rosedal. Lomas de Chapultepec, Mexico City. So the Easter candle trick, what I'm saying here is that he kind of deceived me into going there to pick up the candle, and when I got to the office, then he forked out the letter from Father Maciel ordering me in holy obedience to get the heck out of there, hightail it out of there down to the missions once more in Quintana Roo. Righto. So holy obedience. That was the Easter candle trick. Sorry for the little interlude. We're back here on the back here with it. Um, what have we got here? So what's next coming up here? Finished with the Easter candle trick. Okay. Next paragraph is called Lost Letter, Last Straw. So again, it's the wrestling. I'm into a wrestling match with my Legion superiors, and I'm getting uh, narky, as we say in Dublin. I'm getting testy, as the good old Americans say. I'm getting testy. Anyway, this is what happened. I'm down in the missions, right out, doing my best, hanging in there with all my. Hmm. One more episode further distanced me from the Legion, the mother that I had loved and served for 23 years. 21 years at that time, excuse me. Several weeks after my arrival in Yucatan Peninsula, Monsignor Burnell, we used to get together Hikos on Tuesdays. We'd have a little meeting of the Padres, our day of rest. We'd go to Bacalar, we'd hang loose, we'd play soccer, we'd have a nice meal, perhaps at the cenote, at the sinkhole, cenote, the Blue Lagoon or whatever it was called. And we had a nice, relaxing day. And then he would open his little briefcase and give us our correspondence, our mail. And one of these days, uh, he says, I just found a letter here on the bottom of my briefcase, and it's for you, Paul, Padre Paul, and it's from Cardinal Corripio. I don't know whether he said that, but I picked up the letter and I saw Cardinal Corripio. This is really nice. He must be responding to my request to have the appointment with him. Okay. The only problem was, okay, so I opened the letter, and of course the problem was, yes, he gave me an appointment, but the appointment was 2 or 3 weeks previously, which would have been, not a. And so I got annoyed because I interpreted this as Monsignor Bernal withholding my my mail and withholding it in such a way that now it was too late to go to that appointment with the Cardinal Corripio for me to clear my name. So this is that's why I call it, lost letter, last straw. Now I saw the letter from Cardinal Corripio had an old postmark. The letter inside granted me an appointment at the Cardinal's office several weeks previously. To my initial query, Monsignor Bernal replied that the letter must have gotten lost in his briefcase. Qué pena. What a pity, he says. ¿Qué se puede hacer? We got to be in with Mexican Spanish here. What can we do now? Better just to let things go. Déjalo pasar. Tranquilízate, pacify, tranquil your soul, and accept the holy will of God. Now, at this stage, I was not into holy will of God. Forgive me, Jesus. I was quickly transitioning to a no-nonsense problem-solving approach to the will of God. I angrily confronted Monsignor Bernal at the Sacred Heart front office soon after. So I really had it in for him. I didn't say anything then, but when I went to see him at the office, he met me in the front office of the Sacred Heart Church in Chetumal. And I said, look, I believe you purposely withheld that. I don't know what the heck you're up to, but you purposely kept back that letter. And I was really angry. He thought I was going to I would not pass it either to you. I would not pass it past either you or Father Maciel. So he got scared. He said, I'm a coward. Yo soy un collón. I didn't know that word in Mexico. It's especially probably very kind of a popular Mexican expression. I'm a wimp. For a Mexican to say that, I'm a wimp. I don't want to fight. I'm afraid of fighting with you. I'm gonna break your granny there. I went on to tell Monsignor I would find a way of meeting with Corripio to clear my name. So now I'm bravo, as they say. Now I'm getting bravo. You're angry and you will not take no for an answer, and you will not be pushed around. You're being angrily assertive. Bravo, bravo, like a wild, getting like a wild bull that they just put the little prongs into him there. Telling you, boy. Without asking for permission, I flew from Chetumal to Mexico City and questioned Cardinal Corripio about the letter. When I implied, because Maciel had implied that Corripio wanted me moved. There again, more astucia from Father. When I implied that Corripio had suggested to Father Maciel that I be moved, normally inflappable Corripio was like that. I've heard it from Sarah. He was a real, what is it called? Cool operator, as cool as a cucumber, unflappable. Said no, mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. Got a little testy himself. I never tell superiors what to do with their members. I never tell religious superiors what to do with their subjects. I found out years later, and I think I'm repeating this from a fellow legionaries, that Maciel had thought of sending me to Chile and not to Quintana Roo, but he hesitated, fearing I might rebel totally and leave the Legion outright. Apparently, I was saying the Legion tolerated me for some reason. I was a pain. They were a pain in my behind, and I was a pain in their behind too. I've always prided myself in being a thorn in the side of Father Maciel. That's my claim to glory. He had opted for a safer alternative, return Paul to the familiar missions. But his decision to remove me from the School of Faith in Mexico City without discussion backfired, as it destroyed my trust and killed off any remaining filial affection. Disillusioned with the Legion and its leader, I would henceforth dispense with human intermediaries in my search for self, truth, goodness, and beauty. A little bit of metaphysics here, lads. The Storm Brewing. Sorry about this. Over the years, I had grown gradually more skeptical and critical of Father Maciel and the Legion. Just like the famous last rose of summer, I had wilted and was dying. The initial boundless and all-accepting enthusiasm, weakened by the never-ending struggle of self-denial, blind obedience, no dialogue, and no answers from my questioning mind, became further debilitated by witnessing favoritism, what's this, mistreatment, and injustice. The lonely, exhausting celibacy battle, waged alone because of my mistrust of Legion's spiritual direction, decimated my resources. I will not go into this, but listen to what I'm saying. The lonely, exhausting celibacy battle, waged alone because of my mistrust of Legion's spiritual direction, decimated my resources. So if I was going to fall in love with someone, Maciel was pushing me there, pushing me over the brink. Uh, because I had learned, for whatever reasons, to mistrust my Legion superiors. And in the Legion, they were your spiritual directors too. And you would never think of going outside the Legion for spiritual guidance. It was just not done, not contemplated. Now, I know some confreres who are more resourceful than me, and some of them were studying at the Angelicum University, St. Thomas University in Rome, and they had the Dominican friars down there. And I know of one of two of the Irish guys who spoke with the Irish Dominicans down there in Rome, and so they were able to, to chat, um, feeling safely with another priest, and that was an outlet for them. But I did not have an outlet, or at least I did not know, I did not think. I got myself into a corner. So that was bad. What if, what ifs? I'm not a person to go into the what ifs. I'm not one of those what if persons, because life is what it is, and you live it. You live whatever you have. You don't think of what I would have had, and all those subjective tenses of the verb, which are used in English, in Irish, and very extensively in Spanish. Si yo hubiera, okay. If I had, would have, could have. No, but there you go. If I had opened up to if I had maybe some pastoral counseling, at least I would have been able to manage this better instead of keeping it inside and letting it boil over. Don't cry out loud, whatever. Just keep it inside. Take you. That's anyway. So that's pretty bad. Maciel and the other legionary superiors increasingly became, in my eyes, and the unhelpful imposers of the system. The Pharisees that laid heavy burdens on our backs, but were never willing to raise a finger to help. The regimen was often arbitrary and unduly harsh, a cruel rack and an implacable grindstone, milling members into the dust, grinding them into the dust. Some lay friends told me how other dissident legionaries were mistreated, and this further fanned the flames of my angry passion. So now I'm also doing now, what is it called there? I had my little underground railway working at this time. I had my contact. I have this safe woman who knew about what was happening in the Legion. Very mature Spanish lady. and she was supportive. But she told me about two companions of mine. As much as you could have companions, as much as you could have friends in the Legion. As I said before, friendships in the Legion were like weeds growing up through the flagstones. But anyway, the weeds sprung up. Human nature. Yep, I'm a humanist. Humanistic psychology. So one was a Spaniard and the other one was an Irish guy. Apparently they had some kind of a disagreement with Maciel. Now where were they sent? He's Mr. Resourceful. He sent them to Gabon in Africa. Gabon, in French-speaking uh, new, country in Africa. They had no friends, no contacts, no language. Don't know how they managed that, but that was the real exile. That was banishment for these two guys. I was hearing about that, and I think that fueled my anger. May have justified it to a certain degree. Hey, it's because of my friends I'm angry, but I also had my own problems. Now again, as I read my autobiography to you, uh, I'm reading long after these things happened. I'm writing my autobiography, my memoir. I've studied as a psychologist, as a mental health therapist, and in a certain way, I'm processing my own experience, and I'm also being a little bit more self-analytical, self-critical, if you want to call it, but at least self-analytical about, the part I played in all of this. So I'm not just blaming everybody else. At least I hope I'm not. Maybe I am. Forgive me. But I'm trying to be a little bit more objective here and say, well, what was my part and what was going on inside of me? Because I think this is a way to kind of heal and to come to terms with your past. So it's not total blaming. Look what they did to me. Boom, victim. But what part of me was playing into that too? I mean, I had my problems. I was breaking rules. So, hey, so I don't want to let myself off the hook. This is what I'm saying. I hope I'm in a better place. So, so now, even after all of that, 2020, at the age of 76, going on 77, I'm reading this and commenting on it with you. I hope you get something out of it. Hopefully, some of this can be healing. They, well, they were over there, and I'm following them. Soon afterwards, both abruptly left the priesthood and married. They were personal friends of mine, and as much as one could have friends in the Legion. The Spaniard had been ordained with me the same day in Rome, so we were there was an attachment. And the other was a fellow Dubliner uh, whose father almost had a heart attack the day that this man went home and told him, "Dad, I'm out of it." He left suddenly too, goes back to his dad in Dublin and blurts it out to him. His dad almost collapsed, as we say. Now I'm back and I'm out. I empathized with their suffering and identified with them and their families. I was determined, right? Imagine this. I was determined not to leave the priesthood impulsively, no matter what. And to be continued, and you're going to see what happened, whether it was impulsively or not. Again, I thank you for your attention. I do hope that you're well, that you're safe. I lament the continual loss of life. I just lost a dear person now, not through coronavirus, but through cancer. Yesterday, I got the sad message. And that's as sad as can be. When a 50-year-old man dies and you're 76, you're saying, not fair. Sad. Very sad.